I'm going to start the record button here. Tavonna, thank you so much for being here on this webinar and helping us sort of get empowered and maybe take that first steps like you were talking about with me before the webinar, sort of cracking the door open to actually starting your health coaching business or whatever, you know, the attendees are on thinking of doing right now. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma.
And we were hoping to get Nathalie. Woo! Nathalie just signed in, so she'll be here in 1 second. She's running just a couple minutes late, but she is the amazing founder of Practice Better, which is a platform that I'm going to be introducing you to, and it has a completely free program. And so I just think it's an amazing way to tie new health coaching professionals with this look of professionalism, with this ease of automation, and so many more things. So she's going to be hopping on in a second.
Yeah, and while she comes on, I think it's a good thing that you mentioned there. When I work with people in a simple startup program, I do not endorse, nor do I advocate building your own website, whether you use some free builder like Wix or GoDaddy or whatever, because that's not what we went to school to do. That's not what we went to get a certification to do. So it just wastes a bunch of time. And so I have a few workarounds. And so I'm excited to work with Emma to build this out, because this is actually how I teach people to get up and running quickly when you don't have a ton of money, a ton of time, or experience in building your own website. So I'm excited to jump in with you guys today.
Awesome. I'm just chatting here with Nathalie, seeing if she's having any tech difficulties.
Awesome. So where is everybody signing in or joining us from? If you just put in the chat, where are you joining us from?
Thank you, Tavonna.
I see there's another Emma in the group. Yeah, where are you all signing in from? Austin. Awesome. Ooh. We got Pottstown, PA. I like it.
Oh, nice. I have a friend, Courtney, from Pottstown, PA. She went to PT school with me.
How random, right? I've never heard of it. So I'm so glad that there's some kind of connection here. Pensacola, I was just in Florida just a couple of days ago. Very cool. And I went to school in Florida. We got nice. I love Asheville. I love Asheville. Hi, Nathalie.
Hi. I'm so sorry. I have a link and it took me to, I was like the only one. Anyways, you gotta roll with these things, right? You gotta roll with these things. I'm sitting there and I'm like,
hey, Bill. Bill's calling in from Columbia.
Well, thank you so much, Nathalie, for coming on. If anyone didn't catch our other webinars and our introduction, this is Nathalie Garcia. She is the co-founder of Practice Better, which we'll be showing you in a couple minutes as well, that I think is a great tool for someone who's an absolute newbie to use to really help them create their health coaching business. Or even if you're not going to do health coaching, maybe it's another business, I still think it's a really great tool that you can use. And so we're just going over where everyone is. Hey, Bill, thanks for being here. Yeah. So what I wanted to do now that we have all three of us here live, thank you so much for everyone attending. What I want to do is just briefly share my screen and talk about sort of the top things that I think we'll try to cover today. But what I really want to do for those of you that are on this webinar is you have this amazing opportunity to speak with these two boss ladies right here. And so chime in as we're talking about your thoughts on your own business, and you can maybe get some feedback live from these two wonderful individuals, and we can all sort of work together to create our own business, or part of our own business. It's going to be tough to do it all right here, but at least create part of it here while we're on this webinar. So what I want to do is, hopefully you guys can see this little PowerPoint I created here. And so the four things that I thought we'd try to cover today is the first, just coming up with the name of the wellness business that you're going to do. And Tavonna and I talked a little bit earlier today about just sort of some insight she has. So we'll talk about that. Then we're going to be talking about web pages, creating your own website versus just having a booking page. And we're even going to show you how to do your own booking page for free on Practice Better. So you can literally get started like for zero cost. And then potentially how to sort of get clients and intake them, and like what do you actually do once you get your first client? So I think that's where we're going to go. How does that sound, Tavonna and Nathalie? What do you think?
Let's do it.
Awesome. And then chime in the chat, guys. I'm not going to be able to see the chat because I'm sharing my screen. But Tavonna and Nathalie, if you guys can cover any cool questions that they have, feel free to chime in. So really quick, Tavonna, do you want to share a little bit what we were talking about before the webinar on how do you actually go about naming your wellness business?
So I have to kind of back up a little bit. So I'm a physical therapist by trade, went and got life coach, wellness coach, multiple fitness certifications. And through an experience of burnout, I, for a while, left the profession. And so I now straddle the fence between my contracting company as a physical therapist and I help other physical therapists start wellness businesses. So that's a little bit of background about me. And my whole claim to fame is speed and simplicity. So that's why I was excited to jump on with Nathalie and Emma and share with you guys my approach to helping people through the Simple Startup program to get up and running as quickly as possible, as simply as possible, low tech, budget friendly, all this good stuff. So what we're talking about is right in line with that. That said, one of the things that people use as distractions and procrastination is picking a name. And so I feel like if you can't decide within a day, like you come up with some ideas and nothing comes to you by the next day, just go with your name, because you may have several iterations of your business over time, which I have had. Any number of things could come up. And so if you find yourself procrastinating or taking too much time, just go with your name, yourname.com.
I couldn't agree more.
Good. I was going to say, any thoughts, Nathalie?
Yeah, I agree. I think Tavonna nailed it right on the head. We find, running a business, starting a business is so overwhelming that we get caught up, or we procrastinate, like she mentioned, on little things because, we're just putting off tackling the big thing, really throwing ourselves out there. So don't get tripped up on these little things. And your name is all like, it's usually something that's not going to change. And if it does, it won't change too many times. Whereas you might rebrand. How many times will you rebrand or niche, your niche change? So going with your name is such a safe, it's a safe way to go. And you also want to make it easy for clients to know who they're working with. Like, they come to your website, it's your name at nutrition or a health coach or PT or whatever it might be. Like, they know who they're getting right from the get-go when they're typing in your name. I think that's
so you said something, Nathalie, that I did. So my other domain is TavonnaDenise.com. And the reason I did that is I didn't want to hyphenate or change or have this mix up in branding should I ever get married. And so for the ladies out there that think your name might possibly change someday, just go first, middle name. Hey, let's keep it simple here.
Exactly. That's gold.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Now, the other thing to bring up too is that as a sole proprietor, often you want to use just your name. You can actually do doing business as and use like a business name, but it makes it really easy to create some of the legal side of the business if it's just your name as well. Correct?
Yeah,
we're obviously not attorney.
It makes easy. Yeah, it makes it easy. Just for yes, in that particular instance, it just makes it easy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, well, that's easy. Boom, we got that checked off in like 5 minutes. Good. Okay, so then I think the next thing is now that hopefully everyone on this webinar is thinking about their name and coming up with their branding for that. We want to think, okay, now we have our name. We actually have to have somewhere for people to actually access us. And so there's so many different mediums out there to get people into your coaching business. There's social media, Facebook, Instagram. But ultimately, I think it looks the most professional to have some sort of what they call a landing page, which is where online you can go and it's this nicely designed page that has your branding, has your name, like what Tavonna and Nathalie were saying, where you can go and really obviously know that that's the person you're going to be working with. So do you both have any viewpoints on whether or not someone, and I know you shared it a little bit already, Tavonna, but whether or not someone should create a web page, a whole website, or maybe just use something like what Practice Better has, where it's this like booking page that's branded and is really simple to run and simple to design, and literally you can make it in like 5 minutes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to go into the chat for a second and address something that's from the first section, where Cindy is asking, how does a DBA create difficulty? And that she said, I thought a DBA protected us against suits for my personal money. And so first of all, I am not an attorney nor an accountant, nor do I play one on TV. So I would ask that you go and talk to your attorney, your local attorney who knows local law, and or accountant. What we're merely saying, we don't want you to use your name in terms of your business entity. We're just saying a domain name, somewhere to find you. So Oprah.com, that's not her business name. That's just the domain name where people can find her, the address where people can find her online. So I hope that cleared that up. Okay. Now back to Emma's, awesome. Back to Emma's question of, ask me the question in like one line again, because I wanted to make sure I addressed it. Please, so, thank you.
We're getting ready to finally launch our business. Should we go through the efforts of creating a website, or should we just create a simple booking page like what they have on Practice Better?
Yeah, so yes, okay. Again, speed and simplicity, right? If you have never worked with a web designer, I've coached them, I've worked with them for myself and for my clients. It can be a big pain in the butt, and Nathalie's on the back end of building one, so she can attest to this too. When we talk about how do we get up as quickly, simply, inexpensively as possible, I agree 100% with Emma where she says get a landing page, which is just it's like your front door to your house, where people can see the front of your house and this is what it looks like. And just to share a little bit of information there. And I think the way that things are set up in Practice Better makes it easy, because you can, and I might stop me if somebody gets lost in this, but remember we were talking about the address for online. So Oprah.com, for example, if she became a health coach, let's say oprahhealthcoaching.com, and she is using Practice Better, right? She is using Practice Better. She can forward that domain name, oprahhealthcoaching.com, to her Practice Better. I'm going to say URL because that's what it's called, but maybe Nathalie can, in layman's terms, explain what that is.
And we can show that too. I actually think it'd be really neat to show that as well. Hopefully I'm not logged out.
You'll probably have to refresh your screen. Yeah. While you're refreshing it, I just want to add to that. So I agree, simplicity is the best thing. So the one thing I will say though is Practice Better, although you can, if you don't have a website, you can absolutely use it to direct people to book, to book with you right from, an online. So basically you give them a URL, like Tavonna mentioned, and they would go there and they would book directly with you. That being said, it's not going to replace the website. So it's not. So, if you don't have a website, you're not ready to create one, you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, not a problem. You can absolutely use what we call a bookings page on its own, right from Practice Better. So you can send that to potential clients, you can link it to your social media account, that sort of thing, so they have somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. I would just say that it's not going to be as effective in the long run in terms of it's not going to help with like SEO and people finding you. Yeah. So, as your business grows, you're definitely, even if it's going to be a simple, website that you create from it, like a basic template or a Squarespace page or whatever you have at your fingertips, right? You're available to you. I think in the long run, you're going to want a website, but if you don't have the resources for one right now, whether that be time or money, you can absolutely use a Practice Better bookings page in the interim.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
Great
I agree.
points, Natalie. Especially because I think the audience here is mostly brand new, and so I think that's what we're talking about, to set up and get started. And you're right. Eventually, you want to be able to build it out, and that comes when you get more comfortable about your audience and what you're saying to them and what you want them to know, and you know what their frequently asked questions are and what their resistance or whatever to working with you would be. And then it makes it a lot more easy and even fun to build out that website, because you know your ideal client inside and out, versus staring at the blank cursor like, what should I put here?
Yeah. Yeah, if you think you're getting caught up on a name, wait till you
oh my gosh,
blank screen and you're like, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely hate WordPress. Like anytime I have to do a blog post, I'm like, oh no, why do I have to go to WordPress?
And just a small correction, just so Tavonna, don't give me more credit than I deserve. I am not the tech side of Practice Better. I was the nutritionist. So I didn't build any of it. And so I can navigate Practice Better very well, but you put me in front of even, the simplest web platform like a Squarespace or whatever it might be, and I am lost. So don't give me credit I don't deserve.
No, would it be helpful for anyone to see the booking page? Does anyone want to see what that looks like, just to see? I can pull it up. I'm on, hopefully you guys can see I'm logged into Practice Better.
We got some yeses. Please do share.
Awesome. Okay. So Natalie, you want to walk me through this? So I literally signed up 2 days ago before, to sort of prepare for the webinar. And so I am by far not a Practice Better pro. So Natalie, you're going to have to help me a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So one, I just want to say you may be on older version of Chrome. So I don't know if that's going to affect anything. I just see that red pop up at the bottom. So if it does, just know that doesn't typically happen. So the first thing is, so right now what Emma's showing us is your profile page. So, you would just go in, put your basic information, first name, last name, your professional title. If you scroll down a bit, you'd be able to put a little biography about yourself, especially if, for example, you don't have your website up yet. It's a good way when people when you send them to this page, they can read a little bit about you, maybe what working with you is like, the sorts of things you focus on. It's a good place to give them a bit of, information about yourself. And then you can put your accreditations.
I didn't have time to do all this, but you could put your blog and username and things like that.
Yeah. If you click on, there's this little, where you could put your picture right above your name, but that's okay. So if you clicked on preview, for example.
Yes. Okay.
Now this, I feel like I should show you guys one that's got some more content. But basically, it would show, Emma's photo. It give you this biography about her, about what, who Emma is, what she focuses on, why you want to work with her. And then you would click on work with me. And I don't know if you have any services set up, but then this would direct them to what we call her booking page. Okay, so if we go to my practice.
Let's see. Should I go back?
Yeah, just click on my practice at the top and then go to my services. Okay. So this is where you're first going to set up the what are you offering to your clients, right? So Emma already went ahead and set up initial consultation, and it can be as basic or it could be more complex, but basically you're going to go in and give a service name to your service, give another description so your clients, when they come to this initial consultation, they know what they're getting from it, right? It's your way of telling them what it's going to be like to come and do this initial consultation with you, so they can figure out, is this a fit for me or not? The last thing you want is someone to show up and they had no idea what they signed up for, and then, it wasn't the right thing for them. Set your duration, so how long the service is going to last. And then if it's a paid service or if it's a free service, you can put how much you want to charge for this service. So we are on the, so if it's a free service, you can just put $0. You can either keep the $0 and make it invisible, or you can hide it altogether. So this one Emma's saying is by phone. It's a free 15-minute call by phone. And then we'll just save those changes. At the bottom, it's just additional like things like if you want buffer time, so leaving time between sessions, so maybe if things run over, or you want to take notes between sessions, or you just want to have some time to, you know, gather your thoughts between sessions, you can include what we call buffer times between each session. You can limit how far in advance clients can book this service, or limit how late they can book. So you don't want someone booking in an hour and then you're, you know, out running an errand. So you've got a lot of flexibility. So this is all just on the free plan. So on the free plan, you can still, you know, Emma set up a 115-minute service, but you can set up all of your services. You can set up your free service, you can set up your paid services, you can set them all up here. And then just save your changes, Emma.
Okay.
And then you can click on the 3 dots beside it. And for example, this is just one example, but if you say share a link, this is one example of, this is just for one single service. She only has one service, but say visit page.
Got it.
If you had multiple services, you could have a link that would show all of your services, but this one's just going to show one. So you're sending someone online. They can go and they can choose a time that they want to work with you. So you would have to set up your availability beforehand.
Yeah.
And they would choose a time. And then it eliminates the back and forth. So, you know, we think we chatted about earlier on our last call, you know, we want to make sure there are as few barriers as possible for clients, because oftentimes, you know, they've tried a lot of things before they come to you. And they're coming to you and they're like, okay, you know, they've got up the strength to go and see someone else, go and work with you. And now you don't want to give them, okay, email me, and then you got to come back to them in 24 hours or 48 hours. And are you available this day? No, I'm not. What about this day at this time? And it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of opportunity for them to change their mind. So having an online scheduler is really great in terms of letting them be, you know, really take action when they're ready, right?
Can
so
I also say this, Natalie?
Yeah.
This is also helpful for those of you who are just getting started, and many of the people I work with work a job. And so you don't have time when you're working with patients to go back and forth and try to figure out when to get your coaching clients. So it also takes a lot of the strain and stress off of you.
Yeah. And you know, and everything that is true for you is true for your client or your patient as well. Like, they are busy, they have busy lives, they want it, you know, quick and easy as well. So right now, if we had availability set up, they would see the days that were available, circled, shaded in a light green color. They would choose that day that worked for them and choose a time slot based on whatever availability you set up. And the availability is really flexible. So if you say, you know, maybe you're still working a part-time job or a full-time job and you're doing this, you know, you're easing into it. Maybe you say, I only take calls on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 9. But I only take this certain service, this particular call during those days, or I take this call during these days, right? So you're really flexible in terms of which services you offer on a given day and during a given time slot. And even though maybe when you set up the service and you said, my initial consultations are available, you know, by phone or in person. When you set up your availability, you can say, actually on Wednesdays, it's only available by phone. So it just makes it so much easier, you know, again, you're not having to like, oh my gosh, where am I going to be on Wednesday evening? You know, am I going to have internet, or am I going to be, you know, you're not having to, it's set up, it's already predetermined. There are no exceptions unless you want to make the exceptions yourself and book a client outside of the availability that you set.
Yeah. And I really love here too that you can even do packages. Like, I went back, and so like I can add more services here. And so I can have so many different services, but then I can even add like a package, which is nice, because when I talked to Natalie, and I even talked to Catalyst Health Coaching, what they really recommended is when people book is trying to sort of get them with packages, because it gives you more continuity of working with that person, and it's just more, you know, profitable for your time. So I think that's something that's unique too.
Yeah. Tavonna, when you do, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I see the other question that I can ask you here later. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, when you're when you're working with a client for the first time, they're coming, do you typically ask them questions, maybe about what they're hoping to accomplish in that time or with working with you? Are there any like pre-qualifying questions you ask them or you recommend asking?
Yeah, I do that as a screening process before we even get on the phone, because then that way, again, time is the most precious resource we have. So if I can tell from those questions that they are not necessarily a good fit for me, but I know someone that might be better for them, then I can go ahead and get them in the best place, because their time is their most precious resource as well.
That's awesome. So I think that's one of, that's just best practice. I think that's an awesome thing to get in the habit of doing, because like you said, time is really valuable, right? And so in Practice Better, you can actually build like a short questionnaire that you can attach to your booking process. So if you want to ask them maybe, 3, 4, or 5 qualifying questions that you include in your service. So when they go and book and they say, I want to see you on, June 5th at 3 p.m., before they can actually complete the booking process, they would have to complete that short questionnaire. So you can actually review that before you ever accept the appointment.
Oh, that's awesome. Where is that, Natalie? Should I go back to services?
Yeah, go back to services. Do you have any, so if you click on edit,
okay.
I don't know if you have any forms set up, but under advanced options, there's a tab at the top of right above. Yeah. Okay, so you don't have a form, but it would be under add code. It would say add form. So if you want to see how quickly you can add a form to Practice Better, you can go to My Practice.
Okay.
And then you go to Forms and Waivers. And we do have templates available that you can start from. So if you want to say View Template.
Yeah, let's do that.
These ones are not like pre-qualifying questions, but if we wanted to take, for example, let's just take like the 3-day food journal, just because it's short and sweet. Got it. You can make any modifications to these. Now I understand these are not like the pre-qualifying questions that you might ask, but we can pretend it would be. And you don't actually have to start from a template. You could start from a template if it's similar to what you're trying to build. Otherwise, you could start from scratch. And then, yeah, we can even leave them if you want. Just I want to show you how easy it is to actually add that to the service. So save and exit it.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to My Practice and My Services, and then edit that guy, and we'll go to Advanced Options again.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go. So now we can add our form. So if you had multiple forms, you could choose from them. And so they're not going to be able to complete the booking without actually completing this form first. So when you get there, you'll see it.
Okay, perfect. Right there. There's a question in the link. There's a question in the chat about what you're about to do right there. That Cindy's asking, where does a new client find this page? EmmaShapiro.com, the domain we spoke of earlier. So that long URL up there, you can forward it to, or you can forward EmmaShapiro.com to that if that's your booking page.
Yeah.
And I think, Natalie,
you can do like a if you wanted. You can make it shorter if you didn't want it to be so long. Sorry, Emma.
And no worries. You guys are doing great. And you're actually reading mine, because I was actually going to talk about the intake forms, because I thought that was super cool and a way to just sort of automate and help, streamline everything. But isn't it in the paid programs, you can have your custom domain, correct, Natalie?
Yes. Yeah. In the paid programs, it could say, instead of my.practicebetter, it could say emmaShapiro.practicebetter. And then you could also, I can always show you guys if you wanted, but you could have, within the custom URL, you could also have your branding. So you could eventually have, your logo on that page instead of the Better logo. You could have your colors as well. So it's just a bit more of an extension of whatever branding you're going to build for your business when you get there.
Yeah, but that's a really good question. And I mean, at first, very few people are probably going to be, searching and finding you. So that's where the SEO, like at first, SEO doesn't really matter. Your Google rank doesn't matter, because it's probably going to be hard to rank. One thing you could do, I'm thinking on the spot, is you see this link up here. I think it was Cindy was asking the question. You see this link. What you can do is you could probably copy that and go to bit.ly.com and create a nice short link. Yeah. And that will send them to this booking link. So what Bitly does is it would be bit.ly.com, and everyone uses Bitly. Big, huge names use it. And it would be bit.ly.com/ Emma Shapiro or Emma's Health Coaching. And that's something that's super easy for people to remember, super easy for them to type in, and it's free. Bitly is free. And it would take them then to this Practice Better link. And then once you get more established in your business and you start, feeling like you can afford the paid program, then you can go and upgrade, and then you can get all that personalization and customization that Nathalie was talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Any more questions?
I'm just realizing you'd have to set up availability to get to the next page. And if it's something so
we could do that quickly.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of jumping around here. I'm sorry, I'm not doing a better job at leading you. But so I guess the first thing, just to kind of recap, Emma, can you just click on My Practice just for a second? Just to kind of recap, we started off in My Profile. That's where you're going to go and set up the information about yourself, the information that you want your clients to know about you. Then you would set up in My Services, any of the services that you want to offer. What do you want to offer these new clients, right? So whether it be that first initial free call that you might do with them and all of the follow-up sessions that you want to do with them, as well as any packages. So that's going to be the second step. Once you set up, because we have one offering, we have that free 15-minute session. Now we want to decide, we want to tell people when we want to work with them. So like Emma did, she went to My Practice, My Availability, which is where we are. And she's just going to choose a time slot. Just choose a time slot and maybe even drag your cursor if you want. So you can edit the start time and the end time. So can you make the end time a few hours later, just in case? And then if your availability tends to recur, if this is the time that you're typically available every week, you can actually set it to recur. So if we click on that time slot again, Emma, right under the date, it says that this time slot recurs and it's weekly. So that way you don't have to go in and set it up every single week. You could just leave it as the one. This says, can you put it to 1 week?
What do you mean? I want to be available all the time.
No, that was going to be that this availability would recur every 15 weeks. So you don't have it'd be hard to and then we'll save this, right? So now when we go back to the bookings page link, it should be one of the tabs open at the top, and we refresh this page. We should see some availability. I think it's a Wednesday, right? So if you go to the next week. So we see Wednesday recurs every week. These are the time slots that Emma said she was available to take this 15-minute call. Choose a time. On the next page is where we're going to fill out those pre-qualifying questions, personal information. So I skipped ahead, I'm sorry.
No worries. I'll use my spam email.
Okay. You can just put 555 if you want.
Oh, there you go. No one needs to know my cell phone.
And then you can just say next if you don't want to answer these ones. And then here are the pre-qualifying questions that you would have asked. So AKA our food journal. The really cool thing about this too, though, is it doesn't only have to be a questionnaire. You could actually collect a signature at this time. So you can collect someone's consent if you have to have them sign any paperwork before they come in and work with you. You can actually collect their signature right from the same page. So it could be a form or a questionnaire or some sort of waiver that they're completing. Once they've completed it, then they can submit their request to actually book this session with you, and then you could, review their responses before you accept it.
Very nice. What I really like about this is that, having these, not just the pre-qualifying questions, but even the intake form that Nathalie's been mentioning. What the intake form is, when you go to any doctor's office, it's that little form that talks about why are you there? What's bothering you? And I think that is so impactful when you're doing anything, because you can almost prepare for that session. Like if this is a paid session and then this is your very first session, you want to go in and just provide massive, massive information and help. And if you're starting from like ground zero, they may not feel like you're giving them enough help, because the first half hour to 45 minutes is just them trying to introduce you to that. So this way you can almost be really impactful and come in with like guns blazing and be like, okay, here's this and this and this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just had a visual of guns blazing in the health coaching session. That's funny.
Yeah. So it's just, like, kind of going back to what Tavonna was saying and Emma's been saying as well, is that time, right? Simplicity and time, and, by being able to link some of these steps together, it just eliminates multiple things from your plate, because you're going to notice as you're starting and building a health and wellness business, you're never going to be bored. You're always going to have so much to do. You're never going to know where to start. So if you can eliminate as much of this off of your plate as possible, then that's great. And then just moving forward, as your business gets off the ground, and if you decide you wanted to use Practice Better at a later stage in your business, you can also, on the paid plans, actually accept payment right up front. So as part of the booking process, you can collect the payment if there was a fee associated with the service or package that they're purchasing. They could enroll into a payment plan instead of paying everything up front. You could do video one-on-one sessions right from the platform. So there are a lot of, we're talking about some of the basics, but there are a lot of other things you can do to also help automate your workflow as well.
Definitely.
Okay, we've got a question in the chat. The question is pre-qualifying section and intake form customizable? Is there a limit to the questions? I'm assuming they mean the number of questions we can ask. And then to confirm, are there sections where the client can check off, like a multiple choice, for example, to agree to A, B, and C?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So Emma, if you want to click on the red button in the bottom right-hand corner. Yeah, so that's our fast action button. So the top option just allows you to build a form from scratch. So it is like you can customize it, like you can build it exactly how you want it. You have, multiple choice, check boxes, tables, you can have conditional flows, like, if they answer yes to this, show all of these questions. So there are a lot of options in terms of being able to customize a form. So yes, so you can build it exactly as you want. There's no limit to how many questions you can ask in a regular form. I believe there might be a cap I can't remember off the top of my head, a cap in terms of the number of questions that can be in a form attached to a booking page. And that's just simply because if you're going to give someone a form with 100 questions as part of their booking process, they may not end up booking the service. So I would definitely recommend keeping those, any questionnaires that you're going to add to your bookings process pretty short and to the point, and then keep the intake forms for someone who's actually booked maybe a paid service with you or a longer service. And then you can also do the check off the ones that you agree to and then sign at the bottom. You can absolutely do that as well. And you yourself can sign as well. So if it's something like an agreement and it requires both signatures, that can happen in Practice Better as well, even from all plans.
And that's really neat, because I've seen that often to have these legal signatures, these actual signatures, is quite expensive in other programs. I pulled up here, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's sort of probably small on the screen, but this is all the different templates that Nathalie has. So she has already like an assumption of risk and release of liability, and that's really nice to have that in. There's a disclaimer of liability, there's HIPAA notice. So a lot of like the really basic questions that you're going to want to include professionally are there. And so yeah, go for it.
Sorry, just to give the same disclaimer that Tavonna gave earlier, we're not lawyers. These are just pieces that we've used in the past. Their framework, a great starting point, but for sure have this stuff, reviewed by, other than the HIPAA form that comes straight from the Human Health Services, but the disclaimers and stuff. It's a starting point. You can use it, but for sure have it, reviewed by, a legal team.
But I love the fact that there's templates there, because especially as a newbie, I'm like, I don't even know what to use, what to ask, what to say. And so to even like, I wouldn't even thought of being like, oh, I maybe should have like a release form, but seeing it there on the list of templates, I'm like, I need that. And so it's just great to have some of those demo templates. And so I don't know if you guys can see, but this is the intake questionnaire that Nathalie has just sort of as a rough template. So you have your personal info here that you can have them fill in, family history here, maternal, personal health, past hospitalizations, just various medication questions, supplement questions, health concerns. So this is pretty complete in itself, I think, as a newbie. But if you wanted to change one, like say this one, I can just go and hit the delete right here, right, Nathalie? And
Correct.
Then boop, and then it's gone. So if I don't want to talk about food at all, I can delete those, or I can even edit it. And I mean, I haven't even used this before, and I'm already sort of figuring it out.
Tavonna, are there any forms that you typically recommend, that people have handy when they're getting started? Is there anything that you typically say, hey, you need at least this? Good question.
Yeah, pretty much everything that I saw that was listed in your templates. I don't think there would be too much more that I would add.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good point, because like we tend to overthink it too. Like I think maybe the message behind today is like simplicity, right? Like, don't overthink it. And what's really cool is like as I'm showing you, you can go back and change these as many times as you want, right? So you don't have to be married to whatever you ask in the beginning might change from what you ask 6 months in, or a year in, or 6 years in, as you develop your skill set and you figure out what people respond well to and that sort of thing. So it's so easy just to put something in, like imperfect action, right? Put something together, get started with that, and then tweak as you need to afterwards.
Yeah.
We have another question. They're asking, does the system save client credit cards? For example, if they're a no-show and we have a cancellation policy for 24 hours in advance, can we charge their card?
Yeah, you can. The system does. On the free plans, either you or the client would go in and put their credit card details into their file. I don't know, do you have any test clients in the system? If you go to my clients, is there anyone in there? No. No. So you can add someone if you'd like, but to add someone, you would go to my client. Yeah, and then just say add client. And then you could write, anyone. Or use like you have to put a legit email address. So maybe use like, it could be something that's.
I can use my spam again.
Okay, perfect. And we'll just say create profile and invite client. So just say add at the top.
Okay.
And say done.
Cool. But I love this. Like, this is super, user friendly if, you needed to know the next steps.
Yeah, actually, I sent you to the wrong place. That's okay. So under basic information, there's on the left-hand side, there's a basic information button. And it's moved. So billing and payment, sorry.
Oh, here we go. Gotcha.
Sorry, no, I lied. I sent you the wrong place. And there's a billing information tab at the top. So right above that.
Right here?
Yeah, right above that, billing information. Okay.
Oh, I don't have Stripe or Square Link. So.
Okay, all right. So anyways, roundabout way to say there are a couple options. So if you're on the free plan, you can link Stripe or Square to your Practice Better account so you can process payments. Okay, so you can take credit card payments. On the On the free plan, you would just go to that billing information tab and put the client's credit card details in, so they will be on file, and you could go ahead and charge them according to whatever agreement you guys have in place about missed appointments and whatever the case might be. On the paid plans, you can actually require billing information upfront. So even if it's a free service, or even if it's a paid service, but you're not paying them upfront, you can still require billing information to kind of, as a bit of a security measure. They feel like they have a bit of skin in the game, and maybe you advise them that, or I would advising them that you plan to charge them if they miss or they don't show up or whatever the case might be. But yes, so there are a couple options in terms of how to save the card on file, but they're both, it's possible for sure on all plans, even the free plan.
Awesome. Any other questions? I mean, this is, I think we've already accomplished so much. We're, starting to get to the end. I just had one more key question, but I mean, you guys, Nathalie and Tavonna, you guys are doing great with this webinar. So we've covered the name, and hopefully everyone feels confident, checking that off the list. We've covered the idea of creating a website and sort of maybe doing a booking page first, maybe doing a simple landing page, or doing a full-on website. And then we've actually sort of gotten into starting to create something where people are going to go, sign up, pay, book, and schedule. And then we even talked about what forms do you need at first. Do you guys have any, before I ask my last question, do you have any other like key advice or sort of like key steps you would also do as a beginning health practitioner? Coach?
I think we're going to cover it in your next question.
Okay. And so, well, my next question, and I love really long questions, so I can tend to ramble, is so now I feel like we have pretty much everything that we need to start getting clients. So now how the heck do we get our first client? Wait
a minute. Hold on. We got another question coming before we get to that. That is, I can already tell that one's going to take a minute. Hold on. Okay. The question is, does the system require registration? I'm using another system that does not require registration and is confusing because the client has to go back to the email they received after registration in order to modify appointment.
So I think I understand. So correct me if I'm not, if I'm understanding incorrectly. But so when they do schedule an appointment, they will have to, like we saw Emma do, give their contact details. So first name, last name, email address. They will receive their confirmation emails to their email address and any appointment reminders there. In order to modify the appointment, they would actually have to log into Practice Better. So they would log into Practice Better to modify it. So yes, I guess that would be it, I think. Or they can contact you.
I think that is answering the question, because it said that the other system they're using, the client has to go back to the email that they received after registration. Mm-hmm. So in this case, all they have to do is remember if I'm understanding you correctly, Nathalie, is they just have to remember you are emmashapiro.com, and then it'll dump them into the booking page, and they can put in their login info and modify the appointment. Is that correct?
No, actually, well, no. They would have to log into practicebetter.io, so into the client portal. So there's a whole, like right now we're looking at the practitioner portal. There's a whole client portal that gives them an overview of all of their happenings, all of their documents that have been shared with them, their accountability tools, all the appointments coming up and that sort of thing. So they can modify their appointment from there. Okay. We're actually working on a way to be able to do it from the email at the moment, but at the moment they would have to log into practicebetter.io to do that.
But I think that does answer the question, and PP, whatever that stands for, if I'm understanding this correctly, if you'll just put yes. Yeah, okay, good. They think they get it. Okay, yes, that's what they meant.
But it's a pretty standard booking process, yeah.
Okay. All right, back to you, Miss Emma. What was your question?
No. You guys are doing great. So, well, I mean, more importantly, if everyone on the webinar, I mean, we're here for you guys. So if you have more questions about, anything that Tavonna or Nathalie can cover, please put them in the chat, because it's all about you guys. Forget about me. But my last question was, so now that we sort of have our system, or hopefully a little bit of our system right now, because that was the goal, is for you guys to have your system by the end of this webinar. Now, where should we go to find our first clients? How do we find our first clients?
I knew that was going to be a big whoppadoozy of a question.
You can keep it short, Tavonna, because I know it's so much more complex. And Tavonna has a whole system in wellnesspts.com that really, really helps you find your clients. And so I strongly suggest people to check that out. But, you know, just as maybe like a quick summary.
Oh boy. Let me see, the quickest summary. All right. I would say if I were to bring it down to just a few bullet points or steps of things that you would need to make the process of finding clients more simple, is you need to understand, I call it owning your space. So what is your specialty? What is your, other way you might have heard it is, what is your niche? Who are you helping? Health care or health coach, wellness coach, life coach, those are too big and too broad. Just like physical therapists, it's too big and too broad. So what is your specialty within that big, broad topic, right? And then you can even get more specific and say, when I was doing wellness coaching, I was doing more on the weight loss side. And I had a program called Rebel Weight Loss. And it was all about working with women who wanted to lose weight that were emotional eaters, right? So when we take it all the way from the big bucket of weight loss, and then we take it down to specifically the person who has a problem with what they call emotional eating, now I'm only talking to a certain subset of people. I'm only talking to a certain subset of people. And I think this is the part where people get freaked out, because they're like, I want to help everybody. And if I don't choose certain people, you know, like if I just say, I'm going to only help people who have a problem with emotional eating, then what about all of the rest of the people? And what I always say to that is, if you don't get specific, if you don't become exclusive about who you want to serve, one, you're going to find if they're mostly physical therapists in here that worked in a general place like a SNF, orthopedic outpatient, even in acute care, you know, you have your favorite types of people that you like to work with, and you light up because those are your people. So whenever I get a neuro patient, I'm not as excited as when I get a patient with congestive heart failure. So you get to choose, when it's your business, the people that light you up and work with those people. The good thing about it is when your services are not for everybody, people feel excited and they're like, oh, she or he totally get me. They totally understand my problem. I'm not going to Weight Watchers or other general health coach down the road because this person understands me. So that's the first part. Then the second part of it, so figuring out what your specialty is and who that specialty is for. Then the second part is when you get even more specific about like getting down to describing that person, which you may have heard called an ideal client avatar. When you can get more specific about that, even then you can find those people, right? And you will get to know where they are and what kind of conversations they are having, and kind of step in that way and solve problems for them. So I guess in broad strokes, that's the way I would approach it without trying to be too confusing and getting all into the weeds with you guys, because we've given you a lot today.
Well, any more takeaways? Nathalie, any advice that people have in general for using Practice Better, and then also in general for health coaching businesses?
Yeah, well, I just kind of want to piggyback on what Tavonna was saying, because she made some really awesome points that also affect us in other areas, and that's just one thing. Another reason to get really understand who you want to work with and who they are. And I think, The other thing that really is going to help set you apart, and I know this is not necessarily about getting more clients. I think getting more clients is, as you figure out who you want to work with, then you start figuring out where these people hang out, because you know them, you start knowing them inside and out. It's like you almost have a name for that person, right? You know that person intimately, like, right? Who your specific client is. Is it a woman? Is it a man? Are they this age to this age? Or, you know, what do they like to do on the weekend? Like, you really create this elaborate story for them, so you know where they hang out, and that's where you want to be, right? You want to be in that space. So that's really going to be helpful. Everything Tavonna says is so helpful in terms of helping you, you know, find more clients once you can really figure out who you want to work with. I just want to bring another reason why you want to really figure out who you want to work with to your mind, because in terms of saving time, and you're going to hear me talk about saving time a lot, and anytime you hear me talk, like, it's such an important part of everything you do. If you work with too wide an audience, you're really going to see that you're like always starting from scratch. You don't become an expert in a field. And when the benefit of becoming an expert in the field is, one, you know, really building a reputation for yourself, and that helps find clients, and that helps with speaking engagements and getting your blog featured somewhere. But the other really great part about becoming an expert means you know this topic. You can really help someone transform in a specific area, as opposed to bring a little bit of improvement to a lot of people. You can get really specific, and the reason why that's important is because you're not having to go back to the books all the time. You know the basics, you know more than the basics, and so you can recycle a lot of the knowledge that you know, instead of having to, you know, what's this condition and what does this mean and how do I start with this? And so you end up, when you become, you know, you set yourself up as an expert, or you build yourself up to be an expert in a certain space, it saves you a lot of time, because we're not saying that you give general recommendations to people, but you have, you know, you go back to the same basics over and over again, and then you personalize them a little bit. So it saves you a lot of time when you can reuse the same materials, when you're writing blog posts that are applicable to everyone who's going to read them.
Did it cut out?
It did.
No. Is she frozen?
Can someone in the chat type if you can hear me? This is Tavonna. Can someone type if you can hear me? Okay, so it's Nathalie that's gone. Okay, awesome.
And
so
she was on a roll too.
She was really getting it, and I'm so glad that she said that. 100%, right? You want to get known for your thing. So I'll give you an example for anyone, and I think about mental health in terms of health and wellness coaching too. So one of the things that I'm known for is burnout amongst healthcare professionals. And yesterday, I think it was, so many people sent me a, oh, Nathalie said, because she can hear, okay, well, get out and come back in, girl. We're waiting for you.
Yeah.
But so
I think
many
it's frozen.
people sent me articles about burnout now officially being a medical diagnosis, because they think Tavonna and they think burnout for healthcare professionals. And so that's another reason why you want to make sure that you are getting super specific and getting known for something, because when we talk about finding clients, it becomes easy and people start coming to you. If you've ever heard of the term attraction marketing, that's what happens. And people can't refer and they cannot help you if they don't know what you do. Right. And if they don't know, like if they know there's somebody in the PT community called the pedal PT. Well, if anybody's a cyclist or has any issues with cycling, naturally, right? Because they are, that's what they do. And this is what this person is known for. So I know it's scary. To say, okay, I'm excluding people, but I promise you, it will help you help more people. It will help you help more people. And here's the other thing that I want you to understand is that it helps you help more people. He says they can't hear me now, but Emma can hear me.
I can hear you. Can anyone else not hear Tavonna?
Okay, well, let me finish this point just in case people can't hear me on the recording. But the challenge is, I've lost it. What was I saying, Emma?
Basically, I was trying to.
The last thing I was saying. Oh my gosh. Attraction marketing. Okay, right. So then people can start referring to you. And I guess that's the main point that I want you to take from that.
Brand yourself. Basically, brand yourself so that you can be the go-to person. Like, think to yourself, am I neuro? Am I ortho? Am I knee? Am I back? Am I nutrition? Like, am I fasting? Am I, Atkins? And brand yourself so then people can right away think of you and align it with your niche, is basically what we were saying.
Correct. All right. Natalie looks like she's back. Hopefully she remembers what she was saying.
It was so good.
Really
Both of you were on a roll.
It was getting really good. So I think it's a bit, no, I can't hear you at all, Natalie. I can see your words. So.
Yeah, we can't see you either. Well, it's okay. We're basically sort of tying things together anyway. So you can keep trying to come on, Natalie. But we're sort of coming to the end anyways. Does anyone have any last questions? We really hope that this webinar is extremely informative, but any last questions while we have Natalie on and Tavonna on?
There was another question that's up a little bit higher that I want to address. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Edwin is asking, what type of free value or value to customers have you found effective early on? For example, email marketing campaigns, teaching, I don't know what teaching evens. Oh, teaching events, maybe. Teaching events, maybe there's a comma in there. YouTube videos, Facebook groups. Okay, here's my stance on that. Okay, let's see. How can I bring this down? The fastest way that I have found to get clients is in person, because you build that know, like, trust factor more quickly than you do over the interwebs. People don't know, are you, what's that new thing that everybody, like, I can't think of, what is it called, Emma, where they're dating someone and then they try to meet them in person and it's not catfished.
Catfish, yeah.
Yeah. So people are a little skittish online, so they don't know, right? And so the fastest, easiest way that I've ever found to find clients is in person, whether that be networking or speaking at events. Networking and speaking at events are the fastest way when you're first starting out to get clients. And we were talking about just the same thing with your website. You don't know what to put on the page when you first start because you haven't quite figured out who you're talking to, what they respond well to, all of these things. So networking, speaking in person, right? Then you can get to the email marketing campaigns, because that requires a few other skills. Even if you pay somebody to set up your funnels, which is another buzzword. We need a glossary next time.
I know.
Even if you pay somebody to set that up, again, you need the words. Do you know what to put on the page? Are you good enough at copywriting or writing copy, which is just a fancy way to say writing words that inspire a person to take action? Okay, copywriting. Are you good enough at that in email format to get a person to take action, like get on the phone with you, click a button or something? So that's an additional skill that you have to build if you didn't already come in that. Teaching events, I love that because that's in person. They get a quick experience of you in person and they get a taste of what it's like to work with you, and they know you know your stuff. YouTube videos, it's a long game strategy. Right. Yep. So if you get into it, just like podcasting, it seems like all the rage right now. But understand when you get into YouTubing or podcasting that it's a long-term strategy. It's not a short-term strategy. I do like, and I quite often use Facebook groups for building because, again, it's a networking strategy. Right. So I said the fastest ways to clients and cash when you start a business is networking and speaking. And so Facebook groups, when done correctly, can definitely help with that. So hopefully I answered that question, Edwin, and then another one.
And Natalie's back. Woo!
Yay!
Am I back? I don't know.
You are back. You are back.
And
you were doing so wonderful too.
Oh my gosh, that was so.
Just pretend that the real gold information was coming and we missed it, but it was so awesome, and I just can't.
Man, you were getting it. Oh my gosh, because the best part. We could go back and forth on that, but we don't want to overwhelm people. So I think divine intervention stopped us, and they have exactly what you need. You didn't miss anything. You got exactly what you needed.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one other question I see here. Maria's asking, when starting out, would you recommend trying to build insurances or just stick to private pay or cash based? I have a very strong answer for that. Does anybody else want to take it?
I'll leave it
cash all day. Cash all day.
Yep.
So here's the pitfall in terms of traditional healthcare that I think I'm speaking from the physical therapist standpoint. Many of you all are also that we're falling into. If you notice, if you start a cash-based physical therapy, traditional physical therapy rehab practice, and people want to say, well, can't you just take my insurance? Right. What I've also noticed is when we say we also take insurance, and when somebody's just paying, let's just say $20 a session, they don't have quite the commitment that they have to doing their part as they would if they were paying out of pocket. There are many other practitioners in the healing arts that don't, nobody walks in and says, do you take my insurance? Acupuncturists, no matter how you feel about these people, right? Acupuncturists and some of these other guys do not take insurance. So when you want people who are really invested in themselves and what you do, and you want people to listen, you want to make sure that they are investing their dollars as well. One of my mentors said, those who pay attention. I'll say it again. Those who pay attention. Yeah. So I think if we don't want to accidentally go down this road that really all traditional healthcare has gone down, we just need to work directly with the clients or with the consumers. And that's just how I see it.
And I would add two little points to that. One being, I was never a practitioner who took insurance. I wasn't, I would just give receipts and they would try to, they would basically like a super bill. But they're, working with practitioners now who a lot of them do take insurance. A lot of them are transitioning out of insurance. It's a lot of work. It's not as stable in terms of what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. So there's a lot of work that goes into taking insurance, as I'm sure most of you know. But the other piece too, rather than it being a question of to take insurance or not, go back to your ideal client avatar, like Tavonna mentioned, and does that ideal client avatar pay cash or do they pay via insurance, right? So being really clear on who you want to work with will answer that question for you as well.
Great point. Great point. We've got another question from Maria. Burnout question, or was it burning question? It could be either. Saying, working full-time and wanting to start my practice. Would you recommend trying to build a caseload while working full-time, drop to part-time work, or stopping full-time and focusing on just building business, assuming I have 4 or 5 months expenses saved up, for example? Maria, I think that is a personal choice, but I'll give you some thoughts on that. I think, and maybe Natalie, you and Emma can attest to this, whatever amount of time you think it's going to take to do the thing that you want to do, add to it, because stuff is just not going to work exactly how you think, or you might need to pivot a bit. And so like I said before, most of the people in a simple startup program with me work full time. And I personally prefer a step down method where you start full time, you figure out what you want to do and start dropping your hours if that's available to you, because there is nothing worse than burning through your cash. And then when you get on a call with a potential client, being in a very needy energy, in a needy space. And it's like, oh, I got to land you right now because I got this bill coming and my savings is running out. So that's just the stance that I take. And because It's just like when you go on a date and you, oh gosh, this happened to me not too long ago. And the guy was just always texting, always sending all these things. And I was like, ew, gross, get off of me. What is wrong with you? Because he just came with this very needy energy, as opposed to the person that knows that their bills and their basics are covered. And it's just, let's see, is this a good fit in a very abundant mindset and mentality? So that is really my stance on that. And I will say one of the things that is important, so turning it from burning question to burnout question, right, is this requires some work. And so one of the things I'm very clear with my clients is it's going to take some work. But before we even start the program, we sit down and we look at, like, what does your schedule really look like from day to day? And be really clear from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, what are you doing with your time? And, and blocking out the things that are not only important to you, like, of course, you're going to keep your job, but if working out is important to you, where is that going? The program, where is that going? Where are these calls going for potential clients? So taking a look at your schedule and making sure that you know when all this stuff is going to happen so that you don't burn out. And hopefully that answered your question.
I like going after Tavonna because I just piggyback what she said, piggyback on what you say, and I sound smart. But I mean, Tavonna gave you the best advice. I mean, again, like she said, it's personal. You kind of have to assess what's your risk tolerance, right? I think the really important thing is, regardless if you're going in full-time, part-time, part-time, a business takes a long time to build, And if, I know, Practice Better is not a health and wellness business. I used to have one. But even running a business, even Google, no matter what business it is, like Practice Better, took years to get here. So everything takes time. So if you can give yourself, a bit of peace of mind, some breathing space, some less pressure where you can enjoy the process and really, help people, like from an authentic place, as opposed to that place of need because you need to pay the bills because jump ship too quickly or whatever the case might be. Like I always say, ease in. We, even with Practice Better, like that is what we did, and we've never regretted it. And it grows. It just takes time. It takes a lot of nurturing. It will be worth it, but you have to stick it out. And just remember, whenever you are looking at any successful, business or coach that you want to be like, or whatever the case might be, that they all put in that time and nothing was overnight. So that's a piece. It's not overnight. So take your time. Absolutely take your time.
Great.
I agree with that 100%. Awesome.
We've got another question in here. Okay. You guys are awesome.
Are you guys good to keep going? Because we're past the hour point, but I don't want to steal your guys' time too much.
Well, they ask this question all the time, so I definitely have to do that. And then I've got a book club meeting, so yes, I'm going to have to jump. But Bryce is asking, how do you go about pricing your services when starting out? And that is one of those, it depends, right? Part of it is your ideal client, like Nathalie mentioned, are your people, I think, in terms of Walmart and Target. And I hate to say it like that, but that gives you a visual. Like, are your people the Walmart shoppers or are they the Target shoppers? So that's one thing, just put a pin in that. Then the other part that we work through is like, going back to Maria's question, like how much money do you need to have, like bare base minimum? How much would be nice to have? And then what would be knocking it out of the park? And understanding how much money you need to be bringing in each month will also sort of inform, okay, well, I have an aspiration to make, let's just say, I hear this number a lot, $10,000 a month. So do I want to go for the Walmart type client? Because then that means I need to move more units of things. And if I have a, standalone course, that's fine. But if I'm actually coaching people one-on-one in the energy exchange and the time exchange, that might not be the best client to go after. So it is a multifaceted question. You want to look at what your needs are, who your client is. And then I also find that pricing is a confidence issue. When it comes to coaching, I know when I started coaching, I was only charging $600 a month because, per package rather, because I had this thought like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know if I can get them results. I don't know all of these things, like all the I don't knows. But the more I got confident and the more I saw people, their lives literally being changed, then the more I charged, because I couldn't work with everybody and I had a certain lifestyle that I wanted. So those are two things. The other thing that you want to think about is the value. Like, what is this thing that I'm doing with this person? Like, what is the value to them? We think about working out and looking good. That has one value to a person. But let's say there's a person that's been diagnosed with diabetes, and you know how to help a person get off of glucophage or insulin or whatever they're taking, right? Like, how valuable to that person would that be? When I'm in the hospital where I still treat, there are patients taking medications with the little discount coupon that's running them $300 and $400 a month. So you really want to start to think about not how much time it costs to deliver, not, okay, I want to make $100 an hour, so I'm going to charge $600 for 6 sessions. No, what is the value of this thing to the client that will be on the other end? What is the value to the result or the transformation? And so hopefully that answered the question, but it's really, that is a really deep question that I could talk about. I do a whole module just on pricing.
Yeah, pricing is really complex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to end it there, guys. You have so many more questions. I really appreciate everyone being on this webinar. Tavonna, Nathalie, just so amazing. Can everyone just say so many thanks to these two amazing women for being on this webinar and just sharing so much value-packed information. If you do want to learn more from Tavonna, you can go to wellnesspts.com. She also has the Facebook group. It's called Wellness PTs, right?
PT Society, Wellness PT Society.
PT Society. And she's got an amazing program out there to help teach you the steps. And then Nathalie has Practice Better, and that is just an amazing platform. You know, the free program has just so many intricate things included in it that it amazes me what's included in that free program. So I definitely suggest that, just to make it easy for you to get started and make it look extremely professional. So that's it for today. We'll be sending out the recording soon. And just thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Thank you, Emma. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Tavonna.
Emma. Bye.
Okay.